Welcome, everyone, to the Queen City, Charlotte, North Carolina, hosting the ACC tournament for the first time since 2008 inside the Spectrum Center, the home of the Charlotte Hornets of the NBA. ESPN's Champ Week, presented by Principal, continues with day 2 from the New York Life ACC tournament. In the first of 4 games here today, the number 9 seed, the Clemson Tigers, take on the 8th seeded NC State Wolfpack. The bottom 6 teams in the final regular season standings saw their first action yesterday. Seeds 5 through 9 begin play here today. The top 4 teams in the final regular season standings in the ACC get the double bye into tomorrow's quarterfinal action. Later today, Virginia Tech and Miami tonight, Syracuse, Pitt, and Louisville against Notre Dame. Hi, everybody, and welcome. I'm Sean McDonough along with Dan Dockage. Delighted to have you with us. We have a big game for you right out of the gates. These 2 teams, according to our bracketologist Joe Lenardi, firmly on the NCAA tournament bubble. As a matter of fact, right now, Dan, Joe has both of these teams in among the last 4 in. Clemson, the very last team in the field, but he believes the loser of this game is likely not going to be in the NCAA tournament.
Yeah, I'm sure nobody on the committee is going to talk about a play-in game, but this certainly seems like it. The loser of this game is going to be sweating it out. The winner isn't automatic, and this is big. They get the opportunity to continue, not only enhance their resume with a win tomorrow, but they enhance their strength of schedule. So this is a monster game.
If Clemson does not get in, the Tigers will certainly remember the regular season game against today's opponent, the NC State Wolfpack. Clemson had a 6-point lead in the final seconds with under a minute to go. It was down to 3 in the final seconds. Marquise Reed, the all-time leading free throw shooter in the history of Clemson basketball, missed 4 free throws. It opened the door for NC State, and Braxton Beverly capitalized the three-pointer at the buzzer to give the Wolfpack the 2-point win. Will we have similar excitement here today in Charlotte? Back with the tip in just a moment, but first back to the studio. Here's Matt Berry.
Sean McDonough, thank you. Our red-eye Jedi, Sean Farnham. This dude's a warrior. Dallin Cuff, Matt Berry alongside you, a part of the St. Mary's Miracle last night against Gonzaga. We were sitting here getting ready for the start of the ACC tournament. The storyline is what it is. Clemson and NC State, really a playing game for both teams as we get started in the ACC tournament. So we'll advance the story. Who gets the win today and why?
Well, part of the reason why it's a playing game is because where I was last night in Las Vegas, and the fact that St. Mary's took a bit away from a team. So that puts added pressure on a game like this to get things started. I think North Carolina State's going to win the game, but the key for them is they've got to create turnovers. They had 15 forced turnovers in that first meeting that they won against Clemson. They need to get at least 15 in this game.
I think I'm going to take Clemson. I'm going to take defense over offense here. Clemson's one of the best defensive teams in the country. They've gotten better throughout the course of the ACC season. They've won 4 of their last 5. NC State's coming off a week. Last week, they lost to BC.
Yeah.
I mean this is a team that I think they can be up or they could be really, really down. So I think this is a game where Clemson defensively in a tournament game at noon can grind this thing out and find a way to get a win because they have to get it.
Very quickly, how important is momentum coming off the regular season into a conference tournament?
I think there is an aspect of it, but it is also an aspect of, hey, fresh start. Let's hit the reset button. That's why I'm going with NC State.
The reset button, it's the best time of year. We have conference tournaments. Who gets in? Clemson, NC State, both of them need a win for that resume. We'll be back at halftime. For now, back to Charlotte. Sean McDonough, Clemson and NC State in the ACC tournament.
Man, the crowd filing in. Beautiful day outside here in Charlotte. Clemson and NC State ready to get the New York Life ACC tournament underway today. We're delighted to be joined by Maria Taylor. Hello, Maria.
Hello, Sean. You know, one of the matchups that we can watch here today will certainly take place in the paint. Clemson big Elijah Thomas. He did struggle with foul trouble during these teams only meeting this season. But despite those 2 fouls, he still finished with 18 points and 26 minutes. And I talked to assistant coach James Johnson for NC State. He said one of the really big things they'll be focused on is containing him, but also they'll need DJ Thunderbird and also Wyatt Walker to combine for 18 points and 10 rebounds in this one if they expect to have any success, guys.
I'm a big Elijah Thomas fan. Every time I watch him play, he plays well. He grabs rebounds out of area, blocks shots, great help defender. I agree with Maria. That's huge that he plays well.
Well, then he's glad that you're here today.
I would think so.
That makes one, at least. Roger Ayers will throw the ball in the air. Ted Valentine and Tony Henderson, the other officials. NC State in the white, Clemson in the orange. Dan's man Elijah Thomas wins the tip for Clemson. You're right, he is fantastic when you are here.
Already got the tip.
Shelton Mitchell, their point guard. It's a veteran Clemson team. They'll want this game to be played in the half court at a slower pace, and NC State will want to get it going up and down. They like to press. And a foul called. I believe they got Braxton Beverly on a reach in. There's Brad Brownell in his 9th season as head coach at Clemson. Had them in the NCAA tournament last year. They went all the way to the Sweet 16. And a lot of people thought they had a better team this year. It's been a rough season, but a chance still to make the NCAA, and he believes if they get back there, they can do some damage.
I believe both of these teams can do some damage. Key for Clemson is going to be inexplicable, to quote the assistant coach Dick Bender, turnovers, where they just throw it to the other team.
Markel Johnson, the junior point guard. C.J. Bryce, guarded very tightly by David Scarra, who's a versatile defender. Coach Brownell thought Scarra should have been on the all-defensive team in the conference. Torn Dorn, the first bucket of the game. He's the leading scorer and rebounder on the year for the Wolfpack. A three. Marquise Reed, their leading scorer. 19.5 per game. That is third in the ACC, behind only the two Duke freshmen, R.J. Barrett and Zion Williamson. Quick response, but Dorn couldn't finish in close. It was rescued by the Wolfpack.
#1 offensive rebounding team in the ACC is North Carolina State. Marty Simmons, the assistant coach, Sean, was talking about just that. Long rebounds. They rebound. Kevin Keats has them running out after balls. It's fascinating that that's what they mentioned as the #1 offensive rebounding team.
They were one and done in the ACC tournament last year. Officially second round action, but it was their first game as they had a first day bye last year. They were upset in Brooklyn by Boston College. That fact, NC State's been one and done each of the last 2 years at the ACC tournament. Thomas spins on Wyatt Walker and gets called for a travel.
3 possessions. Wyatt Walker has stood strong against Thomas. Wyatt Walker on the first possession didn't let Thomas get the ball. Second possession forced Thomas awkward shot. Third possession forced Thomas to travel.
C.J. Bryce, he's playing in his hometown. He's from Charlotte. Markel Johnson in trouble in the corner. A couple of the officials blew their whistle, and they're conferring to make sure they had the same call. There's going to be a Clemson foul, and it's on Marquise Reed, his first. Clyde Trapp quickly in off the bench for Clemson, and Amir Sims has gone out. Beverly, that 3 he hit to beat Clemson at the buzzer, the only 3 he had in that game. But he's one of the best three-point shooters in the ACC. Johnson out of the corner. They almost had one of those offensive rebounds you talked about. And that's surprising to me when you said that, because they're not a big team, NC State, but they just send everybody to the offensive glass.
Yeah, and they chase every long rebound down. Again, good defense by Walker. Clemson, you can see what they're trying to do. They're trying to get the ball into Thomas and play out of it because I'm here. And Walker's just stymieing the whole thing. Nice.
Beautiful feed, Markel Johnson to Torn Dorn, another Charlotte native. Back in his hometown, Dorn, the son of the longtime NFL cornerback Torn Dorn Sr., played at North Carolina. Mitchell for 3. Markel Johnson went lunging out at him, but was too late.
Man, that was good defense, Sean. Mitchell just knocked it in. I mean, that was nothing you can do about that.
Dorn went up in the air. It's a held ball. It goes to the arrow and stays with NC State.
You know, when guys drive, there's an automatic back cut. It's amazing to me. You're going to see everybody, number 2, number 0, looking at the ball instead of being closed outside the lane in a defensive position, seeing both man and ball. Open outside the lane is bad business defensively.
Devin Daniels in off the NC State bench. He's number 24, and now Ted Valentine has a foul against NC State as they were inbounding the ball. It's on Wyatt Walker, his first graduate transfer from Samford.
Samford had a good team. Christian Cunningham with Louisville is from Samford, is a 5th-year guy playing really well. You got a starter right here at North Carolina State. Grad transfer will kill in Samford. Killed Cleveland State a few years ago.
Clyde Trapp, backup point guard behind Mitchell, and he tips it up and in.
Man, he just bogarted his way over Mitchell. I mean, over Daniels. He just got into the lane, threw it up, and then just knocked him out of the way and went and tipped it in.
He bogarted his way.
Yeah.
What does that mean?
That means, you know, the big kid in 8th grade that got the ball and just backed up, dribbled? That's what you do. You just dominate with your physical size.
Yeah. Some dads did that in the driveway as well when we were kids.
No question.
Wyatt Walker, the bucket. He was injured last year at Samford and got a medical redshirt, so he's a grad transfer, but he has 2 years of eligibility for NC State. He'll be back next year. Elijah Thomas scores inside. That was a big part of the game in the regular season. You touched on it already, Dan. Clemson had the big edge inside. They were plus 24 in points in the paint, but it was counteracted by NC State's effectiveness outside in that 2-point win.
Yeah, and you couldn't end that game. You play that game 10 times, you're not ending it the same way with Marquise Reed missing 4 free throws and you're throwing a deep 3.
Here's Reed with a deep 3, and he gets the very charitable bounce off the back rim way up in the air and in.
You know why he got that? He shoots with incredible spin. Like his ball rotates 2.5 times more than the normal jump shot. And so it sticks on the rim a little bit. Pops up high. Doesn't spin out. Look at this run.
Scarra, that's a 12-2 run. There would have been immediate timeout on the next dead ball, but Kevin Keats is not going to wait. Timeout NC State. Great start for Clemson. Up
Sean,
15
you know
to
this.
6.
You know this. When you run really fast, good things happen. In any walk of life. And Scarra just runs right past North Carolina State, gets it done.
ESPN's exclusive presentation of college basketball is brought to you by New York Life. We know that life doesn't fit into any one plan, so start a plan that flexes with yours. And Pizza Hut. Order online today at pizzahut.com for the best deals on pizza and get it fast and oven hot, because no one...
Back in Charlotte, in time for today's Need to Know, brought to you by Principal. We mentioned these two teams right on the bubble, each in the last 4 in for Joey brackets right now. Records look good, particularly NC State's 21-10, and both coaches, when we chatted yesterday, Dan, talked about the net. Supposedly that is a tool that the committee is going to rely on significantly this year. And both coaches said if that's true and we take them at their word, then we're in great shape with the net numbers in the 30s.
Talked to Greg Shaheen last night, who really for years set up the NCAA tournament and put all the analytics in. And he made the statement like Joe Lunardi doesn't look at the net. Most people don't understand what the net means.
Scarra, Clemson 4 for 4 from 3-point range. In that regular season loss in Raleigh on January 26th, Clemson did not make a 3-point field goal in the entire game. They only took 7. They were concentrating on their advantage inside. It's DJ Funderburk, excellent 6th man, scoring inside for NC State.
Funderburk, big-time recruit. Went to Ohio State. Coaching changed. Things just didn't work out for him. But coming out of high school, this was a kid that everybody wanted. Really skilled around the bucket, athletic. A great job here as a 6th man.
9 points in 4.5 minutes, 4.5 rebounds per game in 20 minutes. off the bench.
I would expect here, if he makes this, to see North Carolina State, well, he didn't make it, to start really ratcheting up the pressure. All right, there you go. They did it there. You kind of have
they missed
to.
the layup. It was Devin Daniels with the chance.
You have to if you're North Carolina State. Right now, when you watch Clemson bring the ball up, Sean, they're just so comfortable. They're running whatever they want. Biggest fear for Clemson's coaches was hard pressure forcing into ill-advised turnovers. This is much better by Clemson. I think much more active on the ball.
Scar bounced it underneath, and a foul called on Devin Daniels as he met Javen White at the rim. The graduate transfer from Oral Roberts tried to dunk it.
He's the most impressive guy right here in warm-ups. Like, he's averaging less than 2 points a game, but I swear to God, when you come out, I've done 2 Clemson games now and watch, you're like, who is this kid?
He was a good player at Oral Roberts, averaged more than 10 points and had 9 rebounds per game last season. .610. 2:27 from Ames, Iowa. Ooh, air ball on the second free throw.
He didn't do that in warm-ups.
Just 50% for the year from the line. Here's Blake Harris, backup sophomore guard, another North Carolinian from Chapel Hill. And C.J. Bryce threw it away, trying to hit Funderburk, who didn't seem to realize it was heading in his direction.
C.J. Bryce threw a shoe. All right, I know we all talk about Zion Williamson busting up his shoe, but I swear this year I've seen more shoes fall off for kids. I saw 2 yesterday.
Fall off.
Well, whatever.
Not blow apart.
He didn't blow apart. It just comes off. You know, why don't kids tie their shoes?
Because it's comfortable or it's cool, I would guess. Would be my 2 guesses.
I would say the latter. I think the ball's got to go inside here to Thomas. He's got a great matchup with Boyce. Bryce or Boyce.
John Newman, shot clock at 10. Clyde Trapp. Strong drive met by Funderburk, so he dished to Thomas for the easy 2. Jericho Helms tried to come over to help for the Wolfpack. He was too late.
Yeah, so was Funderburk. You got to get there early because Elijah Thomas is always around the rim.
Helms, a freshman, well short with a shot, taken down by Thomas, who played briefly at Texas A&M before transferring to Clemson. They're clearly trying to go to work on him. He travels. He thought he got bumped by Funderburk.
He was trying to turn to his right shoulder, which is his pet move. He did get bumped, and Funderburk was on that shoulder, so it was awkward for Thomas. If Thomas turns to his right shoulder in the middle of the lane, then the player guarding Thomas missed the scouting report.
Also entering goal, number 11, Markel Johnson.
Markel Johnson, starting point guard, back in. Just 31% from the floor for NC State. Wolfpack has not made a 3, while Clemson 4 for 4 from 3, 8 for 11, 73% overall. Dorn. And it's just out of bounds, I believe, or is there a foul called? Out of bounds to NC State. We mentioned the difference in that heart-wrenching loss, as Brad Brownell called it, in Raleigh on January 26th. Clemson did not make a 3. They're perfect from beyond the arc so far this afternoon.
Well, these aren't easy either. I mean, that's 2. 1, you just lift up. 3, you just lift up over people. Get a lucky bounce once in a while. That one was over.
Spectrum Center in Charlotte starting to fill up. The New York Life ACC tournament is underway. First of 4 games here today. It's been all Clemson here early, now up 22-8 after the fast break dunk by David Skara, the graduate student from Croatia, transferred from Valparaiso. And Torn Dorn scores at the other end off a nice setup from Markel Johnson. NC State has moved within 12. Clemson has made its last 7. 9 out of 12 overall for the game. Mitchell a miss. We were talking to Brad Brownell yesterday about why it's been, in some ways, a disappointing season at this point, that they haven't shot the ball well consistently.
No, they have not. And you mentioned it earlier. You lose a game, and maybe a game that would turn the season around against North Carolina State on the 26th of January, where you have 4 free throws by as good a free throw shooter as they've ever had at Clemson. And a guy throws in a 3.
Clemson got off to a very tough start in the league. They started out 1-5, but the schedule didn't do them any favors. To start the conference schedule, they were at Duke, at Syracuse, then they played Virginia and Georgia Tech at home, then they went to Florida State and to NC State. That's going to be a rough road for any team.
Yeah, and that's why, you know, one game in the middle of that you feel like you have against NC State makes all the difference in the world. It's kind of a mental health game.
They won 8 of their last 12 in conference, coming to Charlotte. Count the bucket, says Ted Valentine, a chance for a 3-point play.
Well, Brad Burnell wants to travel, and Ted Valentine just waved him off. This was a great play by Johnson. It looked awkward, but if you're going to let this kid get in the middle of the lane, you have serious problems. Keeps his chin up on the rim, spins it in. He has to be kept out of the lane. He is crafty, he is smart, and now here's the full court, a little more pressure.
Scars foul his first. You mentioned Clemson's improvement at the end of the year. It's just the second time in the last 29 years they've come to the conference championship tournament, having won 8 of their previous 12. Elijah Thomas, the most recent bucket for the Tigers.
Nobody got back again. Third time.
And a foul and a chance for a 3-point play for John Newman. That defensive mistake compounded by the foul.
Third time Braxton, Beverly, and Johnson didn't rotate back. This time it was Beverly because Johnson took the shot. Look at Beverly. He's standing there. There's nothing he can do. He has to rotate back. 2 times Scar, 1 time now Newman. You know, one of the things where you're known to rebound and you get long rebounds, okay? So guards creep in. You just saw Braxton Beverly do that. Well, it's not what a 5'10" guy should do. He's got to sprint back to the opposite foul line.
Trouble on the handoff. C.J. Bryce fell down, did not travel.
Telling you, can't let him in the lane, coach.
Yep, and when he gets there, that's what happens.
You just can't. You got to keep him going in the dark area. You can't let him in the lane, which is the lighter area. You just can't do it. He's too good.
When we talk about the team's resumes, Markel Johnson missed 3 games at the beginning of the conference schedule with a back injury. They lost 2 out of 3, including a game to Wake Forest. And Kevin Keats felt like that's a game they would have won if they had Markel Johnson. Here's Nickeil Alexander-Walker walking into Spectrum Center. Star player for Virginia Tech, one of the top pro prospects in the ACC this year. His teammate Kerry Blackshear, 3rd team all-conference. Red hot down the stretch. His numbers went up when they lost Justin Robinson, their point guard. They leaned more heavily on him, and he responded.
Yeah, and they should. I mean, he's really talented inside out. I thought it was great what they did with Justin Robinson. I'm sure we'll talk about in the second game, where they let him start. Jim Larinaga against Miami, let him have a tip, got a start, got him out after a second.
Yep, that was on senior night, Friday night in Blacksburg.
Yeah, that was very nice. Both ways, for Buzz to think about it and Larinaga to let it happen.
Strong drive by Bryce. Coach Cates thought he was fouled. He gives it to Roger Ayers on the way by. And so Virginia Tech and Miami playing for the second time in less than a week. Now it's Reed's turn to complain. He thought he got hit.
I thought he got hit too. He was right in front of us. That thing was deep and quick.
5 out of 6 from 3-point range. Johnson, the response for the Wolfpack.
Yeah, that time he was in the middle of the floor. Johnson in the middle of the floor to the top of the key, dangerous. He's the only thing really going right now. Only guy that looks comfortable.
He has 8 of their 18 points. Reed in traffic. Out of bounds. Last touch by Dorn.
3 baskets for Johnson, all in the middle of the floor. Look, he wants to get there. I mean, this is no surprise. Good players can play in the middle of the floor, but he is special tonight. There, you can just tell. Sometimes, the game is organic. You kind of, all of a sudden, this happens for you. Him in the middle, huge today.
He has scored the last 8 points for NC State. Keep them within a dozen. Amir Sims back in, the 6'7" sophomore. He has it back from Reed, and he makes another 3.
He's 31%. Now the question is this: at some point, water's going to find its level, Sean, and they're going to have to they're going to miss, and they're going to have to play inside out a little bit.
Wyatt Walker fed it underneath. Dorn missed with the left, and Sims away with it for Clemson. They've attempted as many threes in this game as they did the entire regular season meeting against the Wolfpack when they went 0 for 7. They are 7 for 8, and Kevin Cates calls another timeout.
Man, just a little slip screen. You know what's great about that for Clemson? The guy that hit the 3, guess what he got the next possession? He got another 3. So many teams take it away from the hot guy. This is great. There's the first one. A little flip over the head. Pick and pop. They came right back to it. Pick and pop. Got his feet set. Got the puppies set. Organized.
More than 7.5 minutes to go until halftime. Clemson already with 36 points on the board. They scored 67 in the entire game in the regular season meeting with the Wolfpack. They're 7 out of 8 from 3-point range after they did not score from beyond the arc in late January in Raleigh. Here's Maria Taylor.
Well, Sean, right now, Coach Keats telling his team that they have to, one, chip away at this, and it's going to start on the defensive end and defending the 3-point line better. But he's also not happy with the way they're defending in transition. He's saying that the shot selection is leading to Clemson's runouts, and they have to do a better job on offense in order for their defensive intensity to ratchet up. And he's also telling his team to chip away at this lead. Don't look at it all at once and finish this half strong.
Sean, to Maria's point, yeah, the shot selection's been bad, but the defense itself, the execution of the defense has been horrible in transition for North Carolina State. Sprinting back, talking, communicating.
Devin Daniels missed a 3. Clemson trying to give NC State a taste of its own medicine, going quickly in transition. Scara short with a 3.
Telling you, you can't fall in love. So much game left.
That was a pretty good look at a 3, though.
Yeah, it was, but he stiff-armed it. Keep him going to the right, and you're in business here.
Johnson stopped and still made his way toward the bucket, up and in.
Everybody left him. Like, the big guy was there, then he left, and then Johnson driving it really good.
He's now scored the last 10 for the Wolfpack. Amir Sims nearly fell down to avoid the travel pass, and then it was turned over by Shelton Mitchell, and Devin Daniels lays it in. Wide open and almost missed it. Rolled around the rim tenuously for a moment for the transfer from Utah. The Wolfpack fans coming to life, and Brad Brownell wants to quiet them immediately.
"100 years of hard work, tireless dedication, relentless perseverance. It got us where we are and made us who we are. Goodyear, more driven."
Here are the matchups for today. After our game, it's Virginia Tech and Miami. Miami defeated Wake Forest to end the Demon Deacon season yesterday. Syracuse had a bye yesterday, while Pittsburgh eliminated Boston College. And in the nightcap, Louisville will battle Notre Dame. The Irish impressive yesterday in their victory over Georgia Tech.
Irish had one of the great first half, actually the best first half they've had all year, 52 points. Before that, most in the half was 38. The Irish came out smoking.
Lost Nate Laszewski in the second half. He had 14 in the first half for the Irish. Had a hard fall late in the half. Back injury did not return, and his status unknown for tonight. They need him.
This is the old Dr. J 76ers right here. One guy with the ball and everybody on the other side clearing out for Elijah Thomas.
Well, you and I were talking during the timeout, not surprised that Brad Brownell put Thomas back in to try to get the focus back with their seeming advantage inside, but no advantage there as Thomas got called for his second foul and he returns to the bench.
Yeah, you could see Brunell's telling him there was an extended arm, and once you extend an arm, Ted Valentine right there on the call, that was easy.
Dorn inside Funderburk, and a foul called against Amir Sims. Now he's trying to defend inside with Elijah Thomas.
I'm with Brunell here. I'm with Brunell here. There was no push down on the other end, and the foul was called on Thomas, or there was a push on the other end. Now here you've got the same belly bumping going on, and somehow this is a foul on Orange. That's inconsistency that Brunell's talking about. He's right.
Different official. Now it's back to Ted Valentine with a whistle, and it's another foul on Amir Sims.
Now you just don't know how to play a post if you're Clemson. You just don't. Because Sims got over the top and got a hand on the basketball, which usually eliminates anything else in terms of body contact if you touch the ball first. I thought he did, then they called a foul.
Brad Brownell appears to be less than pleased. A couple of his big men on the bench with 2 fouls. Thomas has joined Sims, so they put the freshman Javen White back in. And that foul puts Clemson over the limit with 5:22 to go in the half. And the front end of the 1-and-1 good by DJ Funderburk, who's their best free throw shooter, the big guy at 79%.
Skilled and athletic coming out of high school. Pretty good combination, and tall. It's a pretty good combination. You and I both share.
You mentioned he went to Ohio State. He's from Cleveland, but spent time at Hargrave Military Academy. That is a school at which Kevin Keats coached for 10 years and won 94% of his games.
Sean, every coach in the country will tell you, you wanted a kid from Hargrave that was coached by Kevin Keats. I mean, such a great program, and that dude right there is a fantastic guy that can really coach and connect with kids.
He sent 14 players eventually onto the NBA who passed through Hargrave. He thought he might coach at that level forever. He got some opportunities in college, particularly with Rick Pitino as an assistant for 3 years. Marquise Reed the miss. The Wolfpack trying to get right back in it as we approach halftime. And Beverly fouled on the drive. It's another Clemson foul. Their fans getting more agitated as Clyde Trapp called for his first.
Well, this was a good play by Beverly. He just got the ball in transition and just put his head down, got low, and got the bump. You know, so many guys run to the three-point line. When you run to the three-point line, that's great. A lot of times you get it, but sometimes taking it, going to the rim when you're in the 1-and-1s move. Oh, jeez. Oh, jeez. I was watching that. There was no contact. I get it. That White may have moved. I'm with you, Brad Brunell.
And Ted Valentine frequently.
Really? Well, I mean, there was a flop. You throw your head back. If you're an official that's good enough to be in this game, you can't fall for that.
That's 2 fouls on Javen White. He's come in for the other 2 players who went to the bench, Thomas and Sims. with 2 each. Funderburk, no. Scar the rebound.
You got to go to the rim if you're Clemson here. I'm telling you, there's going to be a call against North Carolina State coming if you put them in a position to foul. There you go.
Corner 3, no. Rebounded by Dorn. Off the miss by Clyde Trapp. Inside it goes. And nearer still, the Wolfpack on the bucket by C.J. Bryce. 8 straight points. They're within 10.
There's your call.
NC State foul on DJ Funderburk, his first. And a media timeout.
ESPN's exclusive presentation of college basketball is brought to you by Principal. We can help you plan for that. And Reese's Peanut Butter Cups. Not sorry, Reese's.
I'm Matt Barry. Coming up with the Audi halftime report, we'll look back at the West Coast Conference Championship. St. Mary's shocking Gonzaga. Sean Farnham, first-year impressions of this game, Clemson, NC State.
Well, look, North Carolina State did a really poor job in defensive transition early. Their energy level has picked up.
That noon game is tough. They're sleepwalking in a must-win game, but they've started to pick it up defensively. They've started to get some stops, some turnovers, making it harder for Clemson.
Speaking of sleepwalking, Farnham, wake up. Sean McDonough, back to you.
Well, he's a busy man, Sean Farnham. He was just in Las Vegas. If you're just joining us, here's the latest bracketology with these two teams right in the thick of it. NC State and Clemson among Joe Lunardi's last 4 teams in. Starting the day, he says the loser is out and probably out to stay. There's another missed 3. Dan Dockich gloating a little bit with his gesturing that you said stop shooting so many threes, Clemson. They've missed 3 in a row now.
Well, 7 for 8. Water finds its level. You're going to miss 10 somewhere. Indiana and Ohio State play tomorrow. So that's another play-in game. This is interesting.
And that's what Joe Lunardi said.
Yeah.
The winner of that probably slides into that last 4 in. You also have a couple more conference tournaments. We saw St. Mary's earn the bid last night, steal one, if you will, from a bubble team, because they weren't going to go to the NCAA tournament without beating Gonzaga. Joe still has Gonzaga firmly at #1.
You know what was interesting? Did you watch that game last night?
Yes, I did.
There you go. Drive it and get fouled. They're calling fouls. You gotta go by how the game is played. Teddy Valentine et al. Are calling fouls. So
particularly Teddy Valentine.
He is calling a bunch.
With a little help from Tony Henderson, Roger Ayers has more or less been an observer to this point.
Well, put him in the position, because they'll call a foul the other way. They know. But I thought last night, St. Mary's, it wasn't one of those games where they hit 15 threes to win. They just were better than Gonzaga last night.
Well, Gonzaga had throttled them the last time they played. I believe it was 48 points, and it was recent. So you can imagine with the ease with which they went through their conference undefeated, they might not have been fully focused. As you said, St. Mary's deserved to win. There was nothing fluky about it. But that moved in Joey's brackets Ohio State out for the time being. You also have a couple more conferences still to finish their tournaments where if there's a surprising result and a team that wouldn't go to the NCAA tournament without winning their conference earns a bid, another bubble team gets popped.
Another one is the MAC, 1A. I mean, you've got
Buffalo loses, then that's another bubble team that's not going to go because the MAC champion obviously does. Javen White, the dunk for Clemson. First field goal in 5 minutes, 15 seconds for the Tigers. There's Jim Larinaga, the Miami coach, getting ready to do battle against Virginia Tech with just 7 scholarship players. Plus, they played yesterday, and Virginia Tech had the bye as one of the seeds 5 through 9 had 1 bye. So a big edge, you would think, to Virginia Tech in our second game of the day.
My game the other night, or Friday night, senior night, was a wrap. I mean, Miami beat Virginia Tech all day.
Another 3.
Now that was good. That went inside. And you got to give White credit. White gets a dunk. He didn't play well the first time he came in the game. And now just made a really nice read and pass to assist on a 3.
Sheldon Mitchell, the most recent 3 Clemson averaged 6.4 threes made per game in the regular season. They have 8 in this game already. Braxton Beverly a miss. And now Clemson, which saw its 18-point lead shrink significantly, had a chance to push it back up to 14. Couldn't score there, or to 18 rather. Couldn't score there.
Terrible pass. Just threw it literally hand high, and Scara just got a hand on it. You got to know a little time and score here. You got Clemson's got the ball, 16-point lead. You can run this down a little bit, shorten it up, and get organized. Go inside out, or drive the ball.
Mitchell. Awkward looking release. Not touched by Markel Johnson. Brad Brownell thought it was. That was right in front of us, and it did not appear to be touched by Johnson. But you can't blame Brad Brownell for asking.
Well, when you see a guy that just drilled a three, shoot one short, right, and ridiculous, you might ask the question.
Devin Daniels. Out of bounds. Last touch by Clemson. Shot clock off, so NC State can run it all the way down if it so chooses. John Newman coming back in for defense. Shelton Mitchell comes out. He'll likely be defending the rest of the half as NC State can wind it down.
Key here, shot, attempted a rebound, go into the half. That's it. You don't go until about 6, 7. Now the decision is whether you're going to come up with 33 in ball screen or you let it go one-on-one.
Kevin Keats says we run more ball screens than any team in the country. Walker came to screen. Daniels a wild three, and it's halftime. Now the three-point shooting. The story of the first half. Clemson made 8 and NC State just 1 for 10. Here's Maria with Coach Brownell.
All right, Coach, you guys shot at about 60% from 3. What allowed you to be so productive from the perimeter?
Well, we had good space. Obviously, when they're pressuring you, if you get away from each other and you get a little bit of penetration, I think you got a chance to kick the ball. And then really it was our defense. We got stops, got out in transition.
There was a time when you were led by as many as 18. They shrunk it to 10. What happened during that stretch?
We missed shots and they made plays. I mean, it's going to be a game of runs. NC State's going to make another good run in the second half, and hopefully our defense will be just as good.
All right, thanks.
Thank you.
At the half, Clemson 42, NC State 26. Here's the halftime report with Matt, Dallin, and Sean.
Thank you so much. Welcome into the Audi halftime report. A one-sided affair, as we said in Charlotte. Clemson up 42-26. Sean Farland, Dallin Cuff. Matt Berry alongside. You think I was the one that came off the red eye. We'll get to the West Coast Conference Championship in a minute because we had a big upset there last night in Las Vegas. We do want to start with this game. Couple things stood out early on for Clemson and NC State. What stood out to you?
Well, the big thing for me is NC State's got to be able to manufacture offense off of their defense. Well, they've got to play defense first, and they did not early in this game. They allowed Clemson to run right by them. Watch this. One pass, flat shot that had no chance. You got 2 guards back. They're both pointing. Nobody's running back. No one's sprinting with a sense of purpose. And to me, that was a major problem in the first half for the Wolfpack.
Yeah, and then defensively in the half court, too. This is a simple pick and pop rotation. Torrin Doran, you got to come. You're going to have to come at some point. Sims knocks down a 3. Now, he's not a great three-point shooter, but then this is the next possession. You just saw it one time. Pick and pop, weak side help, not there. The rotations, guys aren't connected, guys aren't playing together. And Clemson, you can't beat a good defensive team if you can't stop them on the other side.
And both of those things that we're talking about are communication and effort.
Yep.
Okay, so if you're not talking and you don't compete at the defensive end, you have a score like the one we have right now.
With everything on the line, Mike.
And you had mentioned it, noon tip, maybe a sleepy start for NC State. Clemson, though, they came out on fire. You'd mentioned both of these teams coming in. They are very much on the bubble. You would think a bad performance out of the loser if that's NC State. Their tournament ticket could be gone. Speaking of tournament tickets gone, that doesn't apply to St. Mary's. Pulled off the upset last night in Vegas. We'll have that more coming up next on our Audi Halftime Report.
This halftime report is presented by Audi.
Still ahead, Shelton Mitchell and Clemson rolling in the first half. 42-26. More from the Audi halftime report coming up. Clemson up big in the first half. More from Charlotte coming up. This has been the Audi halftime report.
Welcome back to ESPN's Champ Week, presented by Principal. Day 2, the New York Life ACC tournament from Charlotte. Clemson off to a great start. 42 points in the first half on the strength of 8 out of 13 from 3. They opened up an 18-point lead with Dan Dockich, Markel Johnson, the only player in the game in double figures, held the Wolfpack in there.
Yeah, Sean, he had 8 in a row, ends up with 10 in the first half, but really there was no ball movement from North Carolina State. There really wasn't a lot going on either end.
So what do you look for in the second half?
Well, I look for number one, North Carolina State's going to pick up their pressure. They have to. They have to force 10 turnovers in this half for them to win. And the second thing, and Brad Burnell told Maria with it right here, awful, and I mean awful, transition defense.
This is today's versatile performance, brought to you by Dove.
Look at this, 3 guys get ran by. One guy's pointing on the left, Beverly, but nobody's sprinting to the front of the rim. In fact, nobody's sprinting. This one's even worse. I mean, you're going to see a couple guys right here. Reed and Scara just get out. One guy back, Dorn. Watch him, he's backpedaling while others are sprinting. You first guy back in transition turns and sprints back.
Kevin Keats not pleased. Here's Maria Taylor.
You're right, Sean, and there's no surprise that his focus in that locker room at halftime was all about defense. It was about identifying shooters early and doing a better job closing out. He didn't feel like his team did that well at all in the first half. He also said on offense, better ball movement and player movement, as you heard Dan saying a little bit. Don't be afraid to get that second, third, fourth pass in before looking to take a shot. So that's what they're looking to work on offense.
Absolutely.
Shelton Mitchell missed the first shot of the half for Clemson.
You know, the pressure that North Carolina State plays with defensively, which was really a concern to both Dick Bender, the assistant, Marty Simmons, the assistant, hasn't been there so far.
Markel Johnson scores for NC State. They bring some pressure.
That's what I'm talking about. Get into the ball, and then if you're off the ball, close out to a Clemson shooter to take away the shot.
Marquise Reed gave it to David Scar. Elijah Thomas screen and rolled. He's playing with 2 fouls. Reed open for 3, long, and the rebound down to Johnson. And a chance for some early second half momentum for the Wolfpack. Underneath, Dorn, nice pass. Wyatt Walker missed a short one, and a foul called by the outside official, Tony Henderson. And it's on Thomas, and that's his 3rd, and that is an ongoing problem throughout the year for Clemson. Foul trouble for the senior big man out of Dallas.
2 things North Carolina State's come out to do. One, play with the basketball in the middle of the floor. And what happens there, it spreads the defense, and it puts the defense in a bit of a trick bag, and it ended up with Walker getting 2 free throws. The other thing is drive the basketball from the middle of the floor. That was the first play of the half. Got it on top, moved it a little bit, drove it right down through the middle where there is no help.
2 free throws by Walker, and a good start to the second half for NC State. 21-10. They've won 20 games plus in each of Kevin Keats' 2 years as head coach of the Wolfpack.
Nice pass.
And a goaltend. Torn Dorn guilty of the goaltend, and count the bucket for Amir Sims for 8 points.
White got all off balance and kind of tied up, and it was like a slow motion pass and a slow motion layup for that kid Sims.
See if NC State can capitalize with Elijah Thomas back on the bench for Clemson. He played under 10 minutes, 9 and change in the first half due to the 2 fouls.
Well, they're going to get a shot from Dorn because his man is playing way off of him eventually here if they want it.
Clemson, an excellent defensive team, just no lanes to drive it. Finally, Dorn did. He found Walker for 2.
Yeah, Dorn's the guy that can be the release here because he's guarded by Sims, who's playing in a help side role. Look for Dorn to make plays, either shooting it, driving it, or passing it.
Marquise Reed, third team all-conference this year. Skara quickly off to Javen White, who didn't catch it, and Wyatt Walker knocked it out of bounds for the Wolfpack.
Doran, again, you're playing in the middle of the floor right here, and he goes by 3 guys. And Skara tries to rotate, but not quite. I'm looking for Doran to get going here.
He has 6 points. He's their leading scorer in the year, just under 14 a game. Skara open, a deep 3, well short, barely grazed the front rim, and down to Torn Dorn. Braxton Beverly thought about a very long 3. Dorn missed the 3. Get that shot put, line drive, release. He's just 31% from beyond the arc. That's really not his game. Only 22 made all year.
No, and he's going to get him because the way Clemson has decided to play with Sims, number 25, playing in the lane. Just a matter of whether he's going to make him. That was a good look. I mean, you have to shoot that shot. And you're 31% all season, but I got to believe you're in the 40s on a step-up 3 like that with no pressure.
Clemson winners of 2 in a row, 4 out of 5 to get back in the tournament conversation. And Javen White the dunk.
He came out and played really poorly and then got taken out, has come back in, has not sulked, just went out, and he is balling right now.
Played more minutes than he might have expected to because of the frequent foul difficulty of Elijah Thomas. Torn Dorn the bucket, and here comes the pressure again for NC State.
And that was great by Dorn. Dorn went to the rim because his man went over to help. They're just leaving Dorn to go help, and Dorn didn't stand. He went to the rim, got an offensive bucket.
Del Mitchell, 2 defenders lunging out at him. Chance to make it a single-digit deficit with a 3-ball here for the Wolfpack. Johnson, last time they were within single digits. 10:20 left in the first half when it was 22-13 for Clemson. 16-point halftime lead for the Tigers. Down to 9. Markel Johnson with 15 points. Averages 11.5 per game. Sims in the lane a long time. Missed with the left. It got back to him. He scores with the left and is fouled.
Boy, that was good offense. Didn't look pretty, but instead of just jacking up a 3, Clemson went to the block, settled things down, and out-muscled North Carolina State. Look at this. The miss just went right back at it. Got a 3-point play. Better than shooting a 3. Contested.
ESPN's exclusive presentation of college basketball is brought to you by Principal. We can help you plan for that. And Papa John's. Any large handcrafted specialty pizza, just $12.
Sean McDonough, Dan Dockich, Maria Taylor working the sidelines here inside Spectrum Center in Charlotte. After a 2-year run in Brooklyn, the ACC tournament back in North Carolina will be back in Greensboro next year. Amir Sims, the free throw, finishes the 3-point play for Clemson. Pushed the Tiger lead back to 12. The foul just before the break was Wyatt Walker's second for NC State. Markel Johnson, they were looking to trap him for a moment. Defense has always been the calling card of Brad Brownell's teams at Clemson. They're giving up just 62 points a game in conference. Only Virginia better in scoring defense in the league. Marquise Reed, the bucket for Clemson. And every time it looks like NC State is really going to tighten it up, Clemson pushes the lead back up.
Well, right now, guys, Clemson was talking about throwing some different looks at Markel Johnson because he's been able to put up 15 points already. So you might see more trapping. You might see a little bit more switching, but they want to control him a little bit because he's so good going right and left right now.
Yeah, you have to. I mean, you've absolutely got to get him under control. He's the one guy going. They've switched to him. They've trapped him. You got to have about 5 different coverages. Put him down, keep him on a side.
Bucket by Braxton Beverly. His first points of the game. He averages just under 10 a game for NC State. Shot clock running out. Marquise Reed had to launch it. It's an air ball.
Well, here's the adjustment. So many guys say adjustments. Well, the adjustment in the second half for Kevin Keats is play in the middle of the floor with the basketball. Now, this was after actions. You see the court spread. There's no help. The lane is open, which gives not only room but confidence to Johnson, because Johnson's one of those players that just figures, I can whip my guy. It's going to take help to stop me. And when he sees an open lane, man, it is over.
Beverly trying to get it going, missed the corner three. Rebound by Trapp with Devin Daniels right on him and pestering him all the way up the court. And taken away by Beverly, and he did well to keep possession of it. Jericho Helms, the Clemson bench, wanted to travel as he took possession of it. Devin Daniels for three, and back comes NC State.
Let me tell you why he got that. He got that because Dorn went out. They knew Dorn's position. The guy was helping off, so they kept a shooter opposite in Dorn's spot, a guy that could make a three, and he did. That was a great coaching move by Kevin Keats.
Who has been a winner everywhere he has been. We mentioned his time at Hargrave, 10 years as the head coach at the military academy, won 94% of his games, 2 national titles, foul on the drive against Helms.
Well, you got Dorn in there, you can't make a shot. Opposite, you see his helper, look at right there, Johnny Newman cannot get out. They're helping from the opposite corner. So Kevin Keats said, all right, I'm gonna get a better shooter in the opposite corner.
Talk about Kevin Keats, 94% winning percentage at Hargrave. Goes to Louisville with Rick Pitino, there for 3 years as an assistant. They went 96-21. Head coach at UNC Wilmington, right before coming to NC State, 72-28. 2 times in the NCAA tournament in 3 years. The winning numbers, the win total went up every year. And 20 wins plus each of the 2 years at NC State, trying to get to the NCAA tournament for the 2nd year in a row with the Wolfpack, for the 4th year in a row overall. Tough shot by Sims. Then Newman a try and it wouldn't go, and NC State a chance to get closer still with a long way to go in Charlotte. Braxton Beverly the scoop. Timeout Clemson. 7 unanswered points for the Wolfpack. Down by 18 in the first half. Down by 16 at halftime. Now within 7.
Braxton Beverly, one of the things you got to do if you're a little guy is you got to be able to make layups. You got to be able to make tough layups. Braxton Beverly can make a tough layup.
Yes, sir! I told you! We have the greatest fans in the world! Yeah, baby!
I feel sorry for all those guys who are on the bubble right now, but we're not.
It's Champ Week, and it's just getting started. First round action today at the Pac-12 Championship presented by New York Life. Congratulations to Mike Hopkins and the Washington Huskies on the regular season title. Turnover by Clemson. NC State with all kinds of momentum. Within 7. Big possession here. DJ Funderburg started to shuffle his feet. Looked like he was confused what he wanted to do. Lost the ball. Mitchell nearly gave it back. Elijah Thomas back in with the 3 fouls. And the 3-second violation is the call against Clemson by Ted Valentine. Just joining us, NC State trailed by 18 in the first half. They were down 16 at the half. They have controlled play here in the second half. Helms a three. The freshman just 31% from beyond the arc this year. That's just his 21st made three. This is their 32nd game, and the run is 10-zip for the Wolfpack. Skara tried to go high-low to Elijah Thomas. Did well to gather it in, and he gets called for his fourth foul.
Pretty good defense by Thomas. Helms, when you get hot as a team, all of a sudden doesn't matter who's guarding you. Kevin Keats knows this is a 40-minute game.
Sean McDonough, Dan Dockich, Maria Taylor back in Charlotte. Important game for these two teams. Second round action of the ACC tournament, but the larger picture, the NCAA tournament. Each team hoping to return, and Joe Lunardi right now has both of them just barely in the field. He thinks the loser will not make the NCAA tournament. And Dan, we talk about the net as one of the tools that they're using this year with heavy emphasis, we believe. Joey said this morning if it was the RPI like in the old days, NC State wouldn't even be in the conversation. They benefited from the change in the metric used because they're 32 in net, 101 in the old RPI.
Yeah, and both coaches said if you use the net, whatever the net means, boy, that's a big call right there. Wow, that's a big call. Kevin Keats, you can see, not exactly excited about it. I'm telling you, let's see. That's a good call.
Yeah, got him across the forehead.
Actually, that's a pretty easy call.
DJ Funderburg called for his second, and Reed, best free throw shooter in the history of the program at 86% career, made the first. How about the eye test? You know, we talked a lot about did the teams pass the eye test. The big negative for NC State, very weak non-conference schedule, although the wins against Auburn and Penn State looking better as the year goes along.
Yeah, but Sean, if you're depending on Penn State to get you in, I mean, they could run the table. I mean, Penn State's playing great. I think it won 7-9. Pat Chambers has done a fantastic job late, but it seems like they always do. The eye test, to me, these two teams are NCAA teams. These two teams can beat people in the NCAA, but as you well know, better than anybody, there is not an eye test out there, really. I mean, it's kind of numbers, and I think a lot of it is going to depend on, all right, what does the net mean? Because isn't there a margin of victory in there, or at least supposed to be?
Amir Sims went after his own rebound, didn't get it. Out of bounds to NC State. Brad Brownell thought Markel Johnson was the last to touch it.
Sims didn't take his time and go up strong. Sims just kind of flipped that ball up, and right now, where you're talking about a 6-point game, you've blown an 18-point lead.
I think both of these coaches would say 9-9 in the ACC is a strong record when you're talking about some of these teams have to play Duke twice, or North Carolina twice, or Virginia twice.
Let me ask you though. All everybody tells me is they don't look at that. Like, if you went by conference record, there's no way Indiana can be in a discussion. Correct?
Right.
No way. They've lost twice as many games basically in their league as they've won. No way.
Offensive foul called on Devin Daniels. His second.
Your guy Roger Ayers kind of been a star in this game, no? Or maybe not.
Took a hard hit, Sims.
Got to throw it inside. You do. Look, when things are going crazy, you throw the ball inside. Particularly when Sims has position.
6-point lead. And the floater missed by Reed. Rebounded by Dorn. Approaching 9 minutes to go.
I don't know what you got to throw it inside here. You got to drive it, though.
Shot clock at 10. Good penetration and a dump down to Thunderberg off the setup by C.J. Bryce.
That's what I'm saying. The adjustment that Kevin Keats made in the middle of the floor, but everybody driving it and swinging it has been fantastic in this game.
Clemson's gone cold. 6.5 minutes without a field goal.
What did I tell you in the first half?
Stop shooting threes. Well, they pretty much have. They started out 7 for 8. They're now 1 for their last 9 with that miss from the corner by Skara. And if you're Clemson, you really don't want to see it go down to the buzzer. They have had a number of heartbreaks at the end of games, including the regular season meeting with the Wolfpack. Bryce hustles back and blocks the shot. Retrieved by Reed at half court.
But that was made by Beverly. So at that time, Beverly, unlike the first half, sprinted to the top of the key, or excuse me, to the front of the rim, and forced the awkward shot where his teammate could come in and beat it up.
Trap with the shot clock at 2. Missed the 3.
I'd go with Beverly driving the ball. Let him make a play.
Beverly to Daniels. Clemson ice cold. The Tigers have missed their last 9 shots. NC State down by 4, trailed by 18 in the first half. Devin Daniels found a seam, missed the layup. Strong drive, but the shot too strong.
He went right by the defense. Like there is, you just get lucky when a guy goes flying by you.
Mitchell, he's slowed a bit by knee injuries. Managed to penetrate. Another missed shot for Clemson.
And another shoe off. Telling you. Try your shoes.
He has it back on. Thunderberg rolls to the bucket. It's a 2-point game.
Who's getting better shots determines games late. And it's clear North Carolina State is getting better shots.
Clemson on the ropes. Timeout. Brad Brownell.
All right, first half, we showed you not getting back on defense. You want to talk about an adjustment? Here's the adjustment. Sprint back on defense. Watch Beverly. He is getting back. His head is under the basket. He causes an awkward shot, and it ends up getting beaten against the backboard. And then here, this is just a slip. This is just inexplicable. Lazy help. Bucket.
If you are lucky enough to ever witness this, you will not forget the grandest entrance in sports.
We're excited about the arrival of the ACC network. NC State excited about the second half. They've outscored Clemson 25-11. The Tigers is 4 out of 20 from the floor after starting the game 7 of 8 from beyond the arc. Dan Dawkins said, don't fall in love with it. They really haven't. It's not like they've shot a lot of them. They just haven't made any of the shots since.
No, they haven't. They haven't really. It's not like, you know, every shot's a 3. This guy has to take over a little bit here, Thomas, though.
Elijah Thomas has played just 12 minutes due to 4 fouls.
If you're Clemson, Sean, you got to spread this. We talk about playing from the top of the key, middle of the floor down here with North Carolina. You got to do the same thing and let Thomas go one-on-one in the block, but you try to feed him from the top, not from the side. And there it is. They didn't throw it.
Reed's 3 spins out. Tough luck there for Clemson.
And they had Thomas right on the block.
NC State a chance for the lead. Their last lead was at 4-3. With 17-10 to go in the first half. Dorn shut off on the drive. Nice pass. Daniels in traffic. Looked like a lot of contact one way or the other. Kevin Keats thought it was a block. He was giving the referee signal for a block. No foul call, just out of bounds to the Pack with 8 to shoot.
I just couldn't tell. Looked like the ball just exploded. But you see the opposite now. They tried to kick it. Torn Doran's over here, so he's got to drive it. Last time they got a 3.
And Markel Johnson gives NC State the lead.
Wow.
And pressure. And Bryce poked it away. Thought it was last touch by Clemson.
Right.
They don't get that call.
You did a ton of games with Rick Pitino, right? A ton of them. How many times did you see Rick Pitino's teams foul and they couldn't call it all the time? In pressure, you know what I'm saying? That time right there, Clemson was fouled, but they can't call all of it. Be interesting to see if they can create a turnover North Carolina State by really getting into the ball handler. And for Clemson, you got to go on the block here. Oh, boy.
Mitchell, they need it. They can't get it. They can't throw it in the ocean right now. Torn Doran the rebound. They've missed 13 straight shots. 5 minutes to go. One of these teams likely out of the NCAA tournament picture, the loser. And it's lost out of bounds by Markel Johnson.
You hate to beat a dead horse, but this ball has to go on. Now, you can shoot a 3 if you want. I'm not saying you can't, Sean, but I'm saying play it inside out. Get a foul. Go to the free throw line. Slow North Carolina State down if you're Clemson. Now, if you're Clemson, or excuse me, if you're North Carolina State, don't foul. Don't foul and don't get beat one-on-one to the middle of the floor.
Marquise Reed, another miss, 14 in a row. No field goals in more than 10 minutes for Clemson, and yet they're still within 1 point because of the big advantage they earned in the first half when they led by 18. They led 36-18. The step back 3 from Markel Johnson. He's been the star of this one for Coach Keats.
Oh my gosh.
Desperation time for the Tigers. Reed finally, and there's a whistle. All 3 officials raised their hands in the air. They're going to count the 3-point shot. Roger Ayers talking to Ted Valentine to make sure they have the same call. They haven't explained what the whistle was for. They're going to go to the monitor to sort whatever that is out. First field goal in 11 minutes and 16 seconds.
Watch in the middle. Watch here in the middle. On the roll guy, Thomas. Watch right. Boom! Right there. He gets knocked back. Going to be Clemson's ball.
ESPN's exclusive presentation of college basketball is brought to you by New York Life. We know that life doesn't fit into any one plan, so start a plan that flexes with yours. And Degree Deodorant, official partner of March Madness.
It's time to apply the deodorants. You're nervous if you're a fan of these two teams. Perhaps NCAA hopes hanging in the balance. They went to the replay monitor during the break. It was just a common foul on Torn Doran for that contact with Elijah Thomas that Dan pointed out on the way to break. So it's a 3-point bucket for Marquise Reed. They've missed 14 shots in a row. And because of the foul, Clemson gets the ball with a chance to retake the lead.
Layup.
Reed, way short. Cut up and in for Elijah Thomas.
Should be every possession for Clemson, Elijah Thomas. Should be every possession here for North Carolina State, Markel Johnson. Something. Zone here by Clemson.
First bucket of the half for Thomas, saddled with foul trouble throughout. A couple of shaky calls that I think the Clemson folks will be talking about for a long time. In the first half, that they didn't win this game. Out of bounds to Clemson.
That's a bad possession, Sean. Then you made one pass in the corner. You shoot a 3. You got a guy, Johnson, who's going nuts here. Get him in the middle top of the zone, and he's going to have a good look. I thought this might have been off Clemson. It was. He had a pretty good look at it. Sean, if you were coaching right now, Clemson, where would the ball go?
Because I would listen to you, I would say Elijah Thomas. And when he went out of the game, wasn't a coincidence the three-pointers dried up, because when they throw it in him, he kicks it back out. They're more likely to be open on the perimeter. He's trying to establish position. He needs to be careful. He and Funderburk bumping each other. And he was open. They couldn't pass it to him. It was deflected. It wound up with Skara. That was an air ball, so it's a shot clock violation.
That was great defense. You mentioned it. He was trying. Now, and they were trying to get him the ball, but Funderburk just got all over Thomas and wouldn't let him get to the ball side. And in truth, just didn't let him get anything done. He swallowed him up.
They made 7 of their first 8, did Clemson, in this game. They're now 9 for 22 from three-point range. Johnson feeling it. That's way long. And a nice job by Trapp to poke it out.
I thought it was a great non-call. Just because you go over the back, if you don't touch a guy and you get the ball, that's not over the back.
A lot of times you hear that whistle blow just because of that position.
Right.
2:20 to go.
They're trying to get the ball to Thomas on the left side if they can.
The winner on to tomorrow's ACC tournament quarterfinals to take on #1 seed Virginia. Strong drive by Trapp. Clemson bench wanted a foul call. There is none. Held ball. NC State ball.
If you want to see post defense, coaches out there, clip this. Watch this. He plays post defense, and then Funderburk gets over, jumps straight up, and influences. If you're a coach, clip that for your team the entire possession, because number 0 on North Carolina State was awesome on that possession. Big get here.
Reed almost took it away. Meanwhile, the shot clock ticks down to 10. Doesn't matter. Bryce blocked. Tremendous block by Thomas with 1:40 to go for Clemson. Sheldon Mitchell, graduate student, veteran ball handler at crunch time. Reed, their best player, hasn't had a big day. Here's a big 3 in the air. It doesn't fall, but Skara rebounds the miss by Trapp.
Boy, what a catch by Reed out there. I thought that was going to Keats.
20 to shoot. They can take it under a minute to go. The regular season meeting was decided at the buzzer. This one might be as well. Thomas working on Funderburk. Elijah Thomas. Well guarded by Funderburk, out of bounds. With a minute to go, they can go to the monitor here to determine possession, and they will.
Look how far on this block. Watch here. Here comes Thomas. He's running right in the middle. Boom!
Wow.
Oh, man.
Third in the ACC in block shots in the regular season. 2.2 per game. Behind only James Banks of Georgia Tech, Juwan Durham of Notre Dame, and that's his biggest block of the year.
Now they're going to look at who
touched it last.
Yeah, but I think Thomas goaltended on the other end. That's off his Skara, right? Why do you and I do these things quickly and the referees take forever?
Yeah, that looks like Skara was the last to touch. The original call was Clemson ball. I think they felt live that C.J. Bryce had poked it away, but it didn't look like it to me there. They're still looking at it.
This is a goaltend? What do you think? Watch this. Goaltend. Live, I didn't think it was a goaltend.
First block for Thomas. NC State ball. After review, they changed the call, made the correct call. So the Wolfpack with exactly 1 minute to go. NC State has led for just 2 minutes and 17 seconds in this game. And you just jotted me a note. Clemson, that's a big number. There are only 2 team fouls. Where the next one against the Wolfpack sends them over the limit. Braxton Beverly, good ball handler. He's played off the ball most of this year with Johnson running the show. Here is Markel Johnson.
Can't settle here, Sean. There you go.
Johnson. Woo. It was only after the ball went out of bounds that finally the whistle blew for a foul call. And it's the second on Marquise Reed.
They're going to go out of bounds here. Oh, man.
He fell down when he stepped on the foot of Marquise Reed. Not a lot of contact from behind, but the foul called and a timeout called by NC State. Leaving each team with one. Sports Center 6 Eastern after PTI. Sage Steele, Keith Olbermann have Sports Center for you. The latest on the blockbuster trade. Odell Beckham Jr. from the Giants to Cleveland. Plus ahead of the Warriors and the Rockets on ESPN tonight. More on James Harden's dominance of Steph Curry. And if you're a Steph Curry fan, I'm just reading a card. Live in OKC with Russell Westbrook after his fan confrontation in Utah. Sports Center after PTI, ESPN in the app. Joey Brackett says the loser of this game is not going to be in the NCAA tournament. The winner might still have more work to do. And of course, for the winner, a great opportunity with a tournament ceiling win if you could beat Virginia tomorrow.
Yeah, but here's the deal. Think about this. You have 3 fouls to give right here. Now, you want the ball. If you're Clemson, you want to, you don't care under 30 seconds. Do you wait a few seconds here, 10, 15 seconds, foul again? Shorten this up a little bit. Be about 16 seconds for 3 fouls.
Well, everybody but Thomas could be aggressive if they want to. Thomas fouls out if he commits a foul. He's in the middle of the lane. Markel Johnson, the scoop. Out of bounds to NC State.
Now I am using the fouls. Now you're going to get the ball back late. I'm using these 3 fouls here, and I'm going to try to get it where NC State's only going to have the ball in about 5 seconds.
They have a full shot clock. With 38.4 to go. And Dorn brings it out.
Not yet.
Good hands by Trapp. Rescued by Johnson. Still plenty of time in the game and on the shot clock. Scar tries to foul.
Good foul. When the court got spread and you've got Johnson with the ball, you've got a serious problem. And what a great play. Knocking it back court. What a great non-call by the referees, too, letting them go. All right, now you got 2 fouls before 6. If you can get this down to about 12, 14 seconds, you got 1.
Clemson went more than 11 minutes without a field goal. NC State 4 minutes without a point. And that's not the foul they wanted, as Elijah Thomas fouls out. There have been 2 or 3 of his 5 fouls, for which he clearly did not agree.
What was the foul? One of the problems you have when you're telling people to foul is referees don't want you knocking somebody. You know what I mean? Like, so it doesn't escalate. They know you're trying to foul, and they don't know how many fouls guys have. So they're just going to call whoever's trying to reach in.
So now the shot clock off with 18.7 to go. And NC State with a big break. One of the great shot blockers in the league. Outstanding defensive player. Member of the all-defensive team in the ACC. Elijah Thomas has just fouled out for the 4th time this year.
Now you got a foul. Watching his clock.
And how far does NC State take it down before a shot?
Well, I think, boy, this is great for Clemson. You can foul here in a few seconds. He's telling them to foul right now.
NC State, Johnson, desperation, foul call! He threw up a prayer with the left hand. And Tony Henderson has a foul called on Trapp, his 2nd. And it's in the act of shooting with 2.6 to go, down by 1. He'll shoot 2.
They were trying to foul, Sean. Oh, my. Oh, man. They were trying to foul Johnson. Johnson was able to get away, and then the ref, Henderson, bailed him out.
Johnson makes the first to tie the game. Timeout, Clemson. Johnson will have 1 more to take the lead. Is it going to be more? A last-second heartache for Clemson and Brad Brownell. We showed you the loss to NC State. They led by 6, under 40 to go, missed 4 foul shots. Braxton Beverly, the 3 at the buzzer. Against Miami, Zach Johnson banked one in for the Hurricanes at the buzzer for a 1-point win. Then Clemson, a chance to turn the tables, a couple of shots against Louisville to win it, and neither one fell. A 1-point loss at the KFC Yum Center.
Clemson without timeouts. 2.5 seconds to go. A lot of time. Let's see if there's a foul here. We're trying to foul early.
Well, I would think if he was fouled, you could see how long it took for the arm to go in the air. I think he might have fouled him there, but that's not when the whistle blew or the arm came up. It was only then, well after the contact, that there was any whistle.
So you think it was a foul, but a common foul on the floor, take it out?
If the contact occurred, it occurred at the start of that drive.
See, I would look at that and I'd say at the start of the drive, they did try to foul. But I would say that once he went into it, that's when the foul happened. I don't have a problem, actually, with the call giving him 2 shots. I have a problem with Clemson not getting into him and fouling him as he made his drive.
So Johnson made the first. He's 72.4% for the year. This for the lead with 2.6 to go. No timeouts for Clemson. Ooh. And Coach Keats is going to use his last timeout to set up the Wolfpack defense.
All right. I think Reed right now has great confidence. So what I'm going to do, if I'm Brad Brownell, I am circling Reed from back to in front to the top of the key and trying to catch the ball really, Sean, right in front of us. As we're looking to our right, that's where Clemson's basket is. So if he circles up and catches it moving, he can go with his right hand, and I swear to you, he can get to a great look at probably the right side 3-point line. And I love what Reed looks like right now, and I love what he's looked like in the last couple minutes. So if he can get the ball moving forward, however they want to do it, he's going to get a great look, and he's going to put it within the circle, within the rim.
And you see the note. Largest halftime deficit ever overcome at the ACC tournament was 19 points. NC State was down by 16 at the break. This would be the second biggest comeback from a halftime deficit in the long history, 66 years of this ACC tournament.
You got to give credit to Kevin Keats, right? I mean, Maria talked to him. He went and said, we're driving it, we're moving it, you know, start guarding harder, wake up a little bit. Next thing you know, the team responded. But you got to find Reed. I'm telling you, Reed feels good.
Chatting with Brad Brownell yesterday about all the heartbreaking losses. I said, well, sooner or later they even out, don't they? He said, one would hope and think perhaps this is that moment.
Where's Reed here? Let's see.
Or is this one last heartbreak that probably takes them out of the NCAA tournament? Here comes Reed. He's across midcourt. Lets it go. No good. And NC State comes from behind in the final seconds again to beat Clemson.
Boy, Brad Brownell wants a piece of the referee. I'm watching him right now walk off.
Markel Johnson held NC State in the first half, and he scored the final 8 NC State points of this game, including the game-tying and game-winning free throws with just more than 2 seconds to go. And you're right. For Clemson, I think the officiating is going to be a big issue post-game. Some ticky-tack fouls in their opinion, and I think a couple of them in our opinion as well against Thomas. And when he's out of the game, they're an entirely different team. It was an entirely different game. And then the one at the end on the drive by Johnson, when the whistle and the arm came in the air, there was well after whatever contact took place.
You mentioned it in the first half. The fouls in the first half, the ticky-tack fouls that we saw, it was a little bit dominated for a few minutes by the officials, and it went against Clemson, and it went against Thomas. That's big. And then, Sean, you make 7 of 8 threes. That ain't staying that way all game.
And I don't mean to override Joey Brackett's, but I say punch the ticket into the tournament for NC State and Kevin Keats with Maria.
All right, Coach, down by as many as 16 at the half. You have to tell me what you told your team coming out of the locker room.
You know, I challenged them, and I told them it wasn't about X and O's. It wasn't about the coaching staff. It wasn't about any individual player. We all need to band together, and we will come back and win the game. And what a great game. I thought Markel Johnson was spectacular. You know, made big threes, made big free throws at the end.
Tell me what's going through your mind when he steps to the free throw line after that timeout.
Well, I felt great. I mean, the way he played the second half, I really felt great, and I thought he would make them, and he did.
Okay, this is essentially, according to Joey Brackett's, a play-in game. So tell me why this team deserves to play on it.
Well, I mean, you know, we play great basketball all year long. You go 9-9 in this conference, you shouldn't have to argue about that. A great win. We've got a net coming in at 32, and our guys will play well.
What ice cream are you getting tonight?
I don't know yet, but we're going to figure it out. We're getting 3 scoops tonight.
Thanks, Coach. Appreciate it.
Johnson was terrific. 21 points, 4 assists, and a steal for Coach Keats. Likely on his way to the NCAA tournament for the 2nd straight year at NC State and the 4th year in a row, dating back to his time at UNC Wilmington. So NC State on to take Virginia. That'll be the early game in the quarterfinal tomorrow. Still lots of action to come here today. We'll be back shortly with Virginia Tech and Miami. Tonight, Syracuse and Pitt, Louisville, and Notre Dame. Final score in this one, North Carolina State 59, Clemson 58. For Maria and Dan, Sean McDonough sending you back to College Basketball Live Scoreboard, presented by BMW.
Welcome to College Basketball Live Scoreboard, presented by BMW.
Yeah, Sean Farnham, Dallin Cuff, our man Joey Brackett, Joe Lenardi. I'm only Matt Berry. Going to try to steer this ship over the next 25 minutes or so. So much to talk about.
Good luck with that.
Yeah, right out of the gate, because we've been talking about it for the last 15, 20 minutes, the impact of this game. I want to go to the bracket impact immediately after NC State comes back from down 16 to beat Clemson. Where do you have them now, both of these teams?
All right, NC State stays in the field but does not move up, stays within that last 4 in group. This was a survive, not an advance game.
Yeah.
Clemson will drop out of the next bracket, and Ohio State, Team 69, slides back in. We'll remember late last night, they fell out when St. Mary's swiped a bid, and that's the movement we're going to see for the next 4 days.
That was the conversation we talked about, gentlemen, with this game. It was very much a bubble game for both Clemson and NC State. Farnham, I'll start with you. Clemson had this thing in control at the half. They went 10.5 minutes without scoring in the second half. Where did they lose this game?
Offensively. It's been their problem all season long. They can defend, they can't score. And when you don't have a made field goal for 10 minutes of a basketball game, it doesn't matter what your lead is, it's going to be whittled away. And NC State is not a proficient offensive team itself. They're good in the open floor. They can drive. They look to be aggressive in attack. They were able to accomplish that during that 10-minute stretch, and that's where the game truly was lost. It was not lost on the last foul call.
Yeah.
It wasn't lost in the last 2 or 3 possessions or Elijah Thomas's foul call out on the perimeter where he should have never been in that situation anyways. It was lost in the 10 minutes they failed to score a field goal.
Yeah, everybody will focus on those last 30 seconds because the referees were with some questionable calls, and Elijah Thomas, he shouldn't be in that situation, to your point, to even get that foul call. What the bigger problem were his foul calls early in the game. Some of those fouls were a bit of an issue, and that caused some of their issues, struggling for 10.5 minutes to score. But this has been their MO all year. They defend at elite level. Can they get enough from those elite guards, and Sheldon Mitchell and Marquise Reed? Can they play at a high enough level and get enough from Elijah Thomas? Today the answer was no in that second half.
And I agree with Joe. That's not a tournament team.
No.
And Brad Brownell's done a great job, had a great season a year ago. But the inability to close out some of those games that they showed you down the stretch, I mean, that's what's going to bite them.
Well, the first time they played NC State, they should have won that game.
They were up 6.
You saw the Louisville close miss with Clemson. They just haven't been able to close out. And towards the end of the year, you need those wins on your resume.
And look, all due respect to Kevin Keats, he just won a game to keep his season alive. Great. But this whole we were 9-9 in the ACC thing, like, the committee has wised up to that in recent years. Nebraska, 13-5 in the Big Ten last year, didn't come close to a tournament bid. They got a road game in the NIT because the committee was smart enough to look down and see that they had beaten up on the bottom of the league.
Sure.
If you look at the wins that NC State and Clemson have posted, primarily against the bottom of the league. Between them, they don't have 3 quad 1 wins.
Exactly. That's my biggest issue. We're parsing this game, and rightfully so. And NC State and Kevin Keats is a great coach, and he's a chance now to go and play against Virginia and see what happens in that situation. If they win that game, then then they're probably they got a better argument probably in the field. But Clemson is 1-10 now against quad 1 teams.
Yeah.
We were just talking about NC State is the worst non-conference strength of schedule. This isn't like we're parsing teams that have played at an elite level and should be in the mix. Both these teams, as we were watching that game, we're struggling to say, oh, these are both tournament teams. I can't honestly say that.
So you had touched on it there, 9-9 in conference play. That means that's the very definition of mediocre in your conference.
Yeah, and I know that there was a time when that would almost always do it.
Yeah.
But that was before the conferences got bloated and the schedules got larger. I mean, if NC State gets an at-large bid, I would argue they're the most fortunate team in the 64-plus bracket era for this reason. The net has them in the 30s. Yeah. They haven't broken 100 on the RPI. And I'm not an RPI guy.
Which is crazy, though, the disparity between those two.
Exactly.
It is. And it speaks poorly of the RPI primarily. But we wouldn't be having this conversation last year or the year before or any other year. They are not finished winning yet, in my opinion, for an at-large bid. Yet, I think the committee will love its new metric, love 9-9 in the ACC, and I think NC State's chances, even with a loss to Virginia, are still probably at least 50-50. I couldn't do it if I had a vote.
Speaking of
Can I ask a question here? I'm going to interject with you said something I think is interesting. They're going to love their new metric. So do you believe that this, because it's their metric, they are going to lean heavily on that in terms of parsing these final few teams more than we've seen the RPI in recent years?
I think we've seen the RPI's influence diminish. Yep. I think that can be measured, and I think that was appropriate. I think this is the new toy. It's Christmas morning. They're unwrapping it. What do kids do with their new toy on
Play with them right away.
I mean, yeah, are there going to be some outliers? But, I mean, geez, 32 or whatever on net. We paid all this money to have this great new metric. It must be good.
And if not play with it, they're going to pay a lot of attention to it and see how factors.
Yet the flip is, over the years, they've done one thing consistently. If you're right on the edge, and your non-conference schedule is dreadful, and theirs is dreadful, those teams unilaterally have all gotten banged. So
non-conference schedule brings
there
back
we
to
go.
College football.
3-5-3.
Let's take a look at the ACC bracket now as we sit in the ACC tournament. That's why these early games are so important for the bubble teams. Now, you'd mentioned NC State now moves on to play top-seeded Virginia. We're waiting on tip of Miami, Virginia Tech. We'll take you that right here on ESPN. But you have a look at the ACC tournament bracket now, and Virginia's slotted as the favorite. Duke, we expect Zion to come back.